It always starts small. At first, it was not about millions or even thousands. It was about survival. I grew up watching people struggle just to keep the lights on, while others in the same streets drove expensive cars, wore gold watches, and never seemed to worry about tomorrow. That difference planted a seed in my head. The temptation was everywhere, and when you are young, you believe money is the only escape. I saw friends making quick cash through risky deals. They had money in their pockets while I worked long hours for almost nothing. The unfair balance pushed me closer. I told myself it was only temporary, just until I had enough to change my life. But that is how the trap works. The easy money blinds you before you realize the cost. At first, I was just carrying small packages, convincing myself it was harmless. But every delivery, every dollar in hand, pulled me deeper. The thrill of quick success is powerful. You ignore the danger, the fear, even the law. All you see is the chance to rise above poverty. What I did not know then was that the first step into temptation is the hardest one to undo. It set the path for everything that followed. First big deal. The first big deal is never planned. It comes like a test, sudden and tempting. I still remember when one of the older guys approached me. He said there was a shipment that needed moving, something bigger than the small packages I had been carrying. The money he offered sounded unreal compared to what I had ever touched before. My hands shook when I agreed, but my mind kept saying this was the moment I had been waiting for. It was not glamorous. It was hours of planning, hiding nerves, and pretending like everything was normal. The package was heavier, the risk higher, and the silence louder. Every sound on the street made me turn my head. Every police car made my chest tighten. But I carried it through. I crossed the line between small hustler and someone trusted with weight. When I handed it over and felt the stack of bills pressed into my palm, it was like touching fire. Part of me wanted to let go, but another part wanted to hold it tighter. That night, I laid the money on the table and just stared at it. It was more than I ever thought I could make. I told myself this was it, the start of something bigger. What I did not understand was that the first big deal does not lift you out. It locks you in. Building contacts after the first big deal, everything changed. I was no longer the kid trusted only with small runs. People started noticing me, asking if I wanted to make more, if I could handle bigger jobs. In that world, contacts are everything. You do not survive alone, you build circles, and every circle pulls you deeper. I met suppliers who talked less and watched more. They tested me with small conversations, checking if I was loyal or careless. A single wrong word could end trust before it began. I learned to stay quiet, to listen more than speak, to never brag about what I carried. Silence became my shield. Soon, I was introduced to middlemen who handled routes, hiding places, and buyers. Each one had rules, and if you broke them, you were out, or worse. I realized fast that this was more than a job, it was a system. To stay in, I had to play the part, shake hands, keep promises, deliver on time, and never ask questions that did not need answers. With every new contact, the network grew. I was moving in circles where money passed like water, but one mistake could sink you forever. Trust and fear kept everything running, and I was now part of that chain. What I thought was freedom was really another cage, built from deals, faces, and numbers I could never walk away from. Crossing borders is when the game stops feeling local and starts feeling international. The first time I carried weight across a border, it was like stepping into another level of danger. Airports, checkpoints, customs, all places designed to catch people like me. I told myself to stay calm, but inside my chest, my heart was beating like a drum. One wrong move, one suspicious glance, and everything would end right there. The instructions were clear. Keep your story simple, carry yourself with confidence, and never look scared. I repeated those rules in my head as I walked through, pretending I was just another traveler. The package was hidden so well that even I tried to forget it was there. But my mind could not stop thinking about it. Every officer's eyes felt like they were looking straight through me. When I finally stepped out free on the other side, the rush was like nothing I had ever felt. I was not just a street hustler anymore. I was trusted to move across lines most people never dared to cross. The money was bigger, the respect was higher, but so was the risk. Each border I crossed gave me more confidence, but it also tied me tighter to a world where escape was no longer simple. Money flow, money changes everything. Once the borders were crossed and the deals grew larger, the cash started flowing in ways I had never imagined. Stacks of bills filled drawers, bags, even shoeboxes under beds. At first, it felt unreal, like I was living in a dream where every problem could be solved with money. Rent, bills, clothes, cars. Suddenly nothing felt out of reach. But easy money is never clean. It does not sit quietly. It makes noise, attracts attention, and demands to be spent. I watched people around me burn through their cut-on parties, gold chains, and flashy rides. I told myself I was smarter, that I would save and build something real. But temptation has a way of breaking promises. Soon, I was spending more than I thought I would, because in that life, money feels endless, until it is gone. The flow was fast, but it came with constant pressure. Every dollar was tied to a risk. Every purchase a reminder of the danger behind it. I realized the money was not freedom. It was a leash. It kept me running, always chasing the next deal, always needing more to cover what had already been spent. The flow that once felt like success was really the current dragging me deeper into the storm. Close calls, no matter how careful you think you are, the game always tests you with close calls. I still remember the first time the police pulled me over with weight hidden in the car. The siren hit, my stomach dropped, and sweat covered my hands as I tried to stay calm. They asked routine questions, but every second felt like an hour. When they finally let me go, I drove away shaking, knowing how close I had come to losing everything. There were times when deals went wrong too. Buyers showed up late, middlemen disappeared, or locations changed last minute. Every shift felt like a trap waiting to snap. I learned to read faces, to sense when something was off. But even then, luck played a bigger role than skill. More than once, I walked away from a deal only because something inside whispered not to stay. Each close call leaves scars you cannot see. Your sleep gets lighter, your nerves tighter, your trust smaller. You start checking mirrors twice, watching doors, keeping phones off. The world turns into a game of survival where every shadow could mean the end. The truth is, no one moves millions without brushing against disaster. The only question is how many close calls you survive before one finally catches you. The fall, every story in that world ends the same way. Fast, heavy, and unforgiving. My fall did not come with warning signs I could see, though looking back, they were always there. Too many deals, too many faces, too much trust placed in people who only cared about their own survival. One mistake, one wrong move, and the empire I thought I had built started to crumble. It began with whispers, people asking questions they should not know, places suddenly feeling unsafe. Then came the day I was caught. Sirens, flashing lights, and the sound of doors slamming shut behind me. Everything I had tried to hide, the packages, the money, the secrets, was exposed in one sweep. Years of running, planning, and crossing borders ended in a single moment I could not escape. The hardest part was not losing the money or the freedom, but realizing I had trapped myself. The choices I made, the steps I thought were climbing, had really been chains tightening around me. When the fall came, it was not just the law that caught me. It was the weight of every decision I had made. And in that silence, I finally understood that no one wins in this game for long. Life after crime is not simple. Once you walk out of that world, the shadows still follow you. The money is gone, the so-called friends disappear, and what remains is the weight of memory. I stepped into freedom carrying scars no one could see, paranoia, regret, and the faces of those I crossed paths with. The silence outside prison walls was louder than the noise inside them. Starting over meant learning how to live without shortcuts. I had to accept jobs that paid less in a month than I once made in a night. But slowly, I began to value things I had ignored before. Peace, honesty, and the comfort of knowing I would not lose everything with one knock on the door. Life became about rebuilding, one small step at a time. The past never fully leaves. It shows up in dreams, in flashbacks, in the way I watch strangers a little too closely. But it also teaches. It reminds me that quick money is never free, and that freedom without fear is worth more than any stack of cash. Life after crime is not easy, but it is real. And real is something I never had while chasing millions.